All right, we're going to continue our study in the book of Genesis, chapter 18. Just the last few verses are remaining. So we're going to start with Genesis 18, verse 1, and we'll continue from where we last concluded. Genesis chapter 18, verse 1. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, three men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, kneaded, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf, tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time, or at the time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And the men rose up from thence and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And the Lord said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And here we're seeing one of the principles of the mercy of God and the mercy of the Lord, that before he pours out his wrath and judgment, he confirms everything, right? Not that he doesn't know everything, but it's the principle that we see established in Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 15. It talks about in the mouth of two or three witnesses, let every matter be established. Looks like I wrote that wrong there. But in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every matter be established. And so that's why we see that there are two angels coming with the Lord. And another account we see when God's getting ready to come down. With at the Tower of Babel, we discuss that there was so much wickedness and idolatry going on at the Tower of Babel. It says, "Let us go down." And it's speaking of the Word of God and God the Father, right? The Most High. They come down together and they see. So that here we're seeing this principle of 2 witnesses coming down to confirm and to bear witness of something before God pours out his great judgment, that it is righteous, it is just, it is worthy. And that's what we see here. We know what great judgment is coming upon Sodom and Gomorrah. So we see that here. It says, and the men turned their faces from thence and went toward Sodom. Of course, we know, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. Now here it says that the men went, we know these are angels, the men turned their faces and went from it. So again, we see the principle of two witnesses coming down to establish the wickedness there, and to confirm the outcry of everything that's going on there. The two witnesses are present there, right? And so it says here, and they went towards Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. So we see here that Abraham is still standing before the Lord. Right? That's his position, that he is staying in the presence of the Lord at all times here. And speaking of why they're looking and Abraham is still in the presence of the Lord as they are looking down towards Sodom, is because Abraham, of course, we knows that that's where Lot is located. And we know that because in Genesis chapter 14, verse 8 through 12, I'll just read quickly here. We know that Lot and his family, they're in Sodom. And Abraham, this is not Abraham's first experience of interceding on behalf or intervening on behalf of Lot, because he did it in Genesis chapter 14. It says, and there went out the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah and the king of Admah and the king of Zeboim and the king of Bela, the same is Zoar, and they joined battle with them in the valley of Siddim, with Cheldorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, four kings with five. And the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the king of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and there fell, and 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 fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, all their victuals, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. So here we know that this is where Lot is at. Lot is in living in the city. He dwelt in the city of Sodom. And so here it's talking about, we saw that the men had torn their faces towards Sodom. And to turn their face towards Sodom, that is where Lot is. Now, one of the things that we're going to find out, of course, we already know the plot to this, is that we're going to find out the reason why the men were going to Sodom, because it was both Sodom and Gomorrah and other surrounding cities. The men were going to Sodom and Gomorrah because they were going to remove Lot and his family. All right, so they're going to also confirm the cry that is there, but they're specifically going to Sodom because we know they're going there to remove the righteous Lot and his family out of Sodom to spare them from destruction. And that is something that Abraham really is not privy to, right? We see that as he begins to kind of intercede of the Lord, knowing that they're going there, Abraham knowing that the Lord is sending these angels there to confirm the cry and the grievous sin that is there, knowing that justice needs to be done and there's going to be destruction and judgment and wrath that's going to be poured out upon the city of Sodom and Gomorrah and everything that is there. But it says, because the cry of verse 20 says, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great and because their sin is very grievous. So they were going to confirm. They knew that the wickedness that was going on there was great and very grievous, and it was both in Sodom and Gomorrah. But the scriptures here specifically is saying that the angels are going specifically, they're going to Sodom. And the reason why they're going to Sodom is because they're going to rescue Lot. Now, the question could be said that the way this sentence is structured in verse 22, it says they went towards Sodom, but Abraham yet stood before the Lord. Right. And so two things are actually going on here. Abraham is interceding. He's still standing before the Lord because these men are going to Sodom where Lot is. And he knows that when they confirm the wickedness there, they're going to bring destruction upon the city Sodom. Or is it also the same thing as that when the men go there, it is because the intercession of Abraham saying that it would be unrighteous. God, the Lord would not be a proper judge to destroy the righteous with the unrighteous. Do these men, were they going there to bring destruction upon Sodom with Lot inside? Or did the Lord had already prepared that he already from the beginning was going there to take Lot out? and then destroy the city? Or was it because the men eventually went there and took out Lot just because Abraham interceded on the behalf of Lot, revealing to the Lord that no, it's not righteous for you to destroy the city with righteous Lot, with the righteous inside the city that would not be righteous? Of course, I believe it's just that the Lord, being righteous, a righteous judge as he is, he was sending those men there to both confirm, but the scriptures really lets us know that he was there to actually rescue Lot out. And there was a time frame that God had already put in place to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. But these angels were sent there actually to confirm it, the wickedness, and then also to rescue Lot out of there already. That was their plan. Um, but Abraham also revealing the same intent that no, you can't destroy the righteous with the wicked. So Abraham is already has the mindset of the righteousness and the justice of the Lord. He knows the righteousness and the justice of the Lord. And we see the Lord execute that proper justice and judgment by sending these two angels here to rescue Lot out of the city and then bring that judgment. That judgment had already been decreed. The angels reveal that. We'll see when we get to Genesis chapter 19. So the righteousness that of what Abraham is talking about, the Lord is fulfilling that. So it shows the insight to Abraham's knowledge of the justice and judgment of the Lord. But anyway, so here we go on here. Continue reading. It says, verse 23, and Abraham drew near and said, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? We had mentioned this before, that last Bible study, that it says that Abraham was walking with the Lord and he stood before the Lord. But then when he realized that the men were going to Sodom to confirm the outcry, and he knew that they were going to bring judgment upon it, because evidently Abraham knows that. That's why he says, will you destroy the righteous with the wicked? Then he begins to intercede on the behalf of Lot. And part of the intercession that we see what intercession is, and to be an intercessor, there must be all of these things that we see about Abraham, about him being a servant and walking before the Lord, we said, and being blameless, walking in love, that puts him in this position to be able to stand before the Lord. And it puts him in an even better position to be able to even draw even nearer or closer to the Lord, like he draws. We talked about, so this is a beautiful thing to see, that one, he's having fellowship with the Lord and serving the Lord, and then he's in a position to be, because of that, the secrets of the Lord, being in the counsel, in the presence of the Lord, being privy to his counsel, the discussion of the counsels of the Lord. That's what puts us in this position that when we walk before the Lord in this humility and servitude and obedience and love, it puts us before the Lord and in his counsel, to be privy to the counsel of the secret things of the Lord as a friend of him. And then in hearing those things, we can even draw closer to the Lord to enter into a discussion with the divine plan of God, right? And have a discussion with the divine plan of God. So here, Abraham, he draws nearer to the Lord. So I would think that that's already close enough to be the Lord coming and visiting Abraham. And they're having, he is cooking, and Abraham and the Lord is in or in front of his tent. Like, that's already near. But there is even a nearer place that you can have in fellowship with the Lord. You can even draw even closer to him and get into the counsel of God, discussion about the counsel of God. And that just shows the place of where we as believers, having faith in God, how close that we can be in our fellowship with the Lord. Right? He poses the question, wilt thou destroy the righteous with the wicked? So Abraham knew that Sodom was wicked and that they were worthy of destruction. What he proposes is a position that God would destroy the city with the righteous inside. Although it's revealed that God is not an unrighteous God. He did not destroy, when he destroyed the world with the flood, he did not destroy the righteous with it. It spoke of Noah being righteous, and Noah, because of his righteousness, he was saved. God created an ark, and an ark built to bring salvation to Noah and his family. But this position that Abraham takes is that he, as if the Lord will destroy the whole city with righteous Lot being inside. So he poses that question, will thou destroy the righteous with the wicked? Right. So his premise of his discussion or his intercession is that God will destroy the city with the righteous inside. Of course, we know that's not based on the nature of what we know about God so far. He does not do that. Verse 24 says, Peradventure, there be 50 righteous within the city, wilt thou destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? So his position, he starts with 50. I don't know why he starts with 50 with it within the city. All right, but his position is not that God, that the Sodom and Gomorrah are not worthy of destruction, but his position is that God, you can't destroy the city with the righteous in it. That would not be right. You should not destroy the city, because the righteous are within it. Don't destroy. You should spare it for the righteous sake. So it's all for the sake of the righteous. That Abraham understand that what God does, His mercy that is upon the earth, is for the sake of the righteous. That everything that God is doing is for the sake of the righteous. All the blessings that are in the world, everything that the world is enjoying, it is because of the righteous, for the righteous sake. Right? As when God blesses the earth, He brings rain and all these things. It is because of the righteous. Everything is for righteous. That He spares the sinners for the righteous. He saves, brings His Son because He loves the world, but He's doing it to save the righteous out of it. Everything is for the righteous sake. Verse 25 says, "That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right?" All right, and so we know that the Lord is the judge of all the earth, and the Lord does do right. And the Lord would not slay the righteous with the wicked, because the wicked are not the same as the righteous. You know, there's a separation, understanding that the wicked are not the right are not as the righteous, and that the righteous should be spared from the wickedness of the judgment that should come upon them. And Abraham is saying, "Yes, God, we know that you are an equitable judge of the whole earth, and you will do right." Right. But what Abraham doesn't really understand, he doesn't know the full plan of God, because the Lord does judge righteously. He's going to send the two angels to remove Lot and his family out of Sodom, and then he's going to destroy the wicked. So, in the sense, the Lord confirms what Abraham knows about the Lord, that the Lord is not going to destroy the righteous with the wicked. He's actually going to save the righteous from the wicked place, and then He's going to destroy the city. And so it shows here that God, He's there to spare the righteous. The righteous will be spared from the judgment that comes upon the wicked. All right, verse 27 says, "And Abraham answered and said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes." One of the things that we see about this inter exchange between the Lord and Abraham, one, it reveals what Abraham knows about the Lord, that the Lord is a righteous judge. He does not punish the righteous. The righteous have a special position and favor before the Lord, right? That grants them this favor. Right. And that favor actually extends to everyone around them. Abraham understands that about the Lord, that position. Right. But what Abraham also understands from listening to this, reading this account here in Genesis chapter 18, is that Abraham also understands that the Lord, he is humble, and that he allows man, and in his simpleness of that he's just flesh and blood, that he allows man to approach him, and he's willing to listen to the desires and the concerns that are related to mankind. That's what it says here. So it says, "And Abraham answered and said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes." One, it shows his humility, right? But it also shows that he realizes that the Lord is willing to commune with us. The Lord is by all the God, by His word created all things, and the Lord of God is divine, and He is powerful. But it shows that He has this. His ear is attentive to mankind. That He turns toward man. He will fellowship with man, and so He sees that here. That behold, when it says "Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak to the Lord," this "behold now" is just He's realizing or recognizing that the Lord, the Son of God, the Word of God, He is willing to talk with man, to commune with him. We've seen that from the beginning in the book of Genesis, when it talked about how the voice of the Lord will come down and would speak to Adam and Eve, right? Although they had not yet fallen. But even after they had fallen, it shows that then the Lord would still come down and speak with them. And then we see continuing throughout the book of Genesis, we see that the Lord was continuing to talk to both Adam and Eve, continuing to talk to Abel, even continuing to talk to Cain when Cain had even fallen. The Lord was still willing to come down and have this fellowship and communion with man. And so it shows the nature of our Lord, whom we serve, that he will commune with us. He will talk with us. If we put ourselves in a position to do that, and the humility to do that, and the understanding to that the Lord is willing to do that, it's a beautiful thing. So it reveals here how Abraham understands that the Lord allows man to commune with him, and we should take opportunity to put ourselves in that position humbly. Verse 20 says, Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for the lack of 5? And he said, If I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. So here we see that Abraham is willing, we that the Lord is willing that if he finds 40, what is that, 40? Lack of 50, 40, if he finds 45 people, he will not destroy the city of Sodom, even though they are very wicked. For 40's sake, that's how much um, influence the righteous have in the midst of iniquity. That if there's 40 people there, that he'll spare humanity just for the 45 that are there, despite all of the wickedness that are there. It shows the position again and the status of 40 of righteous that are in a community or in a city, right? Again, that they hold this special position, special favor before the Lord, and that the Lord will be merciful to an entire city for just 45 righteous individuals. Verse 29 says, And he spake unto him yet again and said, Peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. So again, we see here and this is all just for the 40's sake, or for the righteous. The Lord, he is very merciful unto us. All right. Just for the righteous sake. He's willing to do a lot for the righteous sake. And if we are in proper position and place with the Lord, there is a fellowship and a communion that we can have with the Lord, that the things that of our heart that we desire, that we can bring them up before the Lord, because of our righteous position that we have with the Lord. Anyway, verse 30 says, And he said unto him, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. Me just listening to this discussion, this prayer, or this intercession going back and forth, I'm already kind of worn out from it. I'm just like, man, Abraham, you keep going and going and going. Um, but the Lord, he just continues to listen to Abraham, and whatever Abraham keeps asking, he keeps asking him. And the Lord doesn't seem to get upset or very frustrated with him at all or anything like that. He's just like, all right, keep praying, keep asking. He says, yep, I'll do it. I'll do it. So the Lord is working in conjunction with humanity. Abraham has moved in this position that now he is working in cooperation, or God is working in cooperation with man. Remember, we said that the position that man has is that man is given authority. God has given man authority on the earth. When man walks in proper relationship and fellowship with God, he is given dominion on the earth. And that dominion is given to man. It's not given to Satan, but when God made man, he gave man, humanity, made of the dust of the earth. He was given this position to walk in authority and dominion on earth. And here we see Abraham walking in that dominion, that as Abraham desires, right? He is speaking his desires of what he would like to be done. And God is working with him. The Lord is working with him and saying, okay, if that's how you want it to be done, I will work with you in that. All right. And that shows this position that the righteous have when you walk before, when you're able to walk before the Lord and you walk blameless before him, right? You have this position of a level of authority here on earth. When you walk in proper position and place before the Lord, you have this position, right? That we see that with the prophets, we see that with David, we see that when you get into this place with the Lord, then you have this dominion that you can begin to pray to God and ask him, Lord, do this and do that and move here. And he listens to our prayers and he responds to our prayers when we get into a rightful place. And we see the prophets calling down fire from heaven, things like that. We see Joshua asking the Lord to stop the sun, stop time, and things like that, right? Where God begins to work with man when he walks in proper alignment with God, when he walks before the Lord upright and he walks blameless, then we see this cooperation of man and God working together in the kingdom being manifested and demonstrated, both his love, his compassion, his grace, his peace, um, things like that being manifested here on the earth. That's what the Lord wants to do. Verse 3 says, and he said unto him, oh, let not the Lord be angry, I will speak, peradventure shall they be found, there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once, peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. Now, this is where Lot ends up stopping. He stops at 10's sake, that if there's 10 found there, right, will you not destroy the city for 10's sake? Of course, the Lord says he will not destroy it for 10's sake. So if there were at least 10 righteous in Sodom, the Lord would have spared all of Sodom, right? From the position that Abraham is praying from, he's praying from that if there is 10 found, then the Lord will not destroy the city at all. But from the position of what Abraham is talking about is that if there's 10 found in there, the Lord will spare all of Sodom. But if there's not 10 found there, the Lord, I don't know, it's kind of the way he phrases that from the beginning is that if he doesn't find 10 there, then the Lord will destroy all of Sodom with the righteous in there as well. Of course, we know the Lord would not do that. But it seemed as if Abraham was on the position that the Lord would find, or the angels would find 10 there. Right. But of course, we know there was only actually one righteous person there, which was Lot. Right. But even then, though, God still did not destroy Sodom with Lot in place because he is a proper judge and a ruler, and he will never destroy any of the righteous with the wicked. And I think that's what Psalms, one of the books, one of the chapters in Psalms talks about, is that God will never destroy the righteous with the wicked. Not even one of them would he destroy with the wicked, right? And that's what we see happen. Because so God's plan is that he will remove the righteous out from amongst the wicked, and then he will destroy the wicked. And that's what we further learn about God, about the Lord, that he won't destroy not even one righteous person along with the wicked as well. All right, and then it says, verse 33, and the Lord went his way, and as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and the Lord went his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. I kind of highlighted that red part there. It says, and the Lord went his way after he had left communing with Abraham. Now, not that I have any deeper revelation or insight to that, but it just seems so beautiful to me to that the interaction of what was described of this intercession that was going on between the Lord and Abraham, and the communion that it describes, the whole communion that is taking place. It's not just this intercessory prayer that is talking about the whole communion. So when it says that as soon as he had left communion with Abraham, Abraham returned unto his place, it's describing the communion that the Lord was having with Abraham. It started from the point in which Abraham lifted up his eyes and recognized that it was the Lord that was with those two angels, um, uh, presenting themselves as men, all the way from the time when he ran to them and started telling them to stay here and rest your feet and let me comfort your heart and let me get some water for you, let me wash your feet, sit under the cool shade of the oak trees and let me get you some bread and give you some milk to drink, and let me get this calf slain for you, young and tender, and prepare this meal for you and allow you to eat, right? All of that is what is mean by what it says. Um, uh, communing with Abraham. The Lord communed with Abraham. That's what that whole communing was involving. In addition to him also interceding with the Lord, Abraham interceding with the Lord, but the communion was everything from the beginning of his appearance and everything from when he left. There was this communing that they had together, right? And fellowship or sharing or just being together, right? And I just, in that sense, I was just like, wow, that's just a beautiful thing that the Lord called that their time together is a communion, as if all any time that the Lord came to visit Abraham, there was like this communion that was taking place, a communing. Communing also means a talking and a sharing and things like that as well. But there's a deeper meaning here that I can't seem to bring out to its fullness. Even this whole thing I've struggled with, this whole intercessory process of a lot of that I've read through the book of Genesis, you would think that this discourse that is taking place of Abraham interceding on behalf of Lot, I have there's aspects of this, many aspects of parts of this that I have no real full understanding of the depth of what's going on here. Um, and so I need to actually pray about this more to get it better. I feel very lacking in this aspect of Genesis chapter 18 here. But I'm sure that there are those that are listening have more to add to this. And if anyone want to add anything at this time, please share, comment, questions, or anything like that. Anyone else?